Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and I'm here to share with you my official movie review for the newest addition to spy films that have come out in 2015 this year, titled The Man from U.N.C.L.E, which is apparently based off of the old television spy show. Now, this movie was directed by Guy Ritchie, who also gave us the last two variations of the Sherlock Holmes franchise starring Robert Downey Jr., and this movie stars Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer. And the plot to this movie is relatively basic, as you pretty much have an American and Russian agent having to team up in order to stop some really bad people from finishing the creation of a nuclear weapon. And that's really all you need to know going into this film. Now, I would just like to come out of the gate and tell you guys that I actually did have somewhat fun watching this movie from beginning to end. However, it did have a number of problems which I will address later. Now, going into the best elements of this movie is that it has great production value. I mean, this movie looks incredible for it being taking place in the 1960s. They get the entire atmosphere done right perfectly. And this is really something that I've noticed Guy Ritchie has a particular serious talent with, in actually building an atmosphere that actually feels like you're actually being teleported to that time period. So I really enjoyed that. Also, the music choice was actually also quite interesting, and I think it also helped to the atmosphere. Personally, my favorite aspect of this film was really the dynamic between Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer's character, because they started as two guys that are on different sides of the fence, and they kind of butt heads over the course of the film, but they managed to kind of bring out the better aspects of each other's characters, and I think just the dynamic of them on screen together was truly, truly amazing. Another thing that I also really did like about this movie was how there were a number of stylized cuts that they added throughout the film that I thought was actually quite unique, that I haven't seen in a film often. Now, that being said, despite all the good things I've said, this movie has a number of problems. Now, one of the main problems that I had with it, and I've heard from other reviewers, is that the plot for this is simply outdated and so basic. I mean, the movie really never takes any twists or turns or plot twists that you don't see coming. And the worst offense in terms of the plot is how the movie has a tendency to let you know something is about to happen. There are several scenes where we're seeing things that we shouldn't be seeing, because if we didn't see that, then maybe we wouldn't expect it. I mean, I understand that you need to film scenes in which the characters don't know what's about to happen next, and the audience does, but wouldn't it be a much better experience if no one knew what was going to happen until it happens? Another thing that I also really wasn't a big fan of is kind of how some of the action scenes were shot. Now, aside from the first action chase scene, which I thought was filmed really quite well and unique, the action scenes in this are kind of done in like a montage set, where there are all these little boxes. And the reason I really hated this while watching this film is because I'm literally seeing 6 different scenes playing out, and because it's dark and I can't really tell what's going on, it really makes me kind of frustrated to try to understand what's going on in this action scene. And there was one action scene in particular that I was really having a hard time trying to understand why it was filmed the way it was. And just going to a little spoiler, it involves a small little boat chase in which Henry Cavill's character kind of gets thrown out of the boat, and then he goes into a truck and he listens to music and he's eating a sandwich, and we're seeing this boat chase from his perspective. And I thought that was really weird and out of place. I mean, the movie has a really hard time trying to get a vibe. I mean, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be for laughs, or am I supposed to be somewhat serious about the situation because his partner is on the verge of being killed and he's just sitting here eating a sandwich. So I didn't really understand what was going on. And the villain for this movie was just so boring. I mean, this is a plot line that would have worked for maybe a Bond film decades ago. But I really think this movie really should have been updated to present day, because the whole concept of nukes has been done before, and it's been done so much better in other films. So I'm just a little bit disappointed that they decided to go with such an old school and basic plot line that's been done 100 times, and that you can kind of see what's coming before it even happens. And that really does hurt the film in the long run. Now, that's not to say that this movie is bad. If you are a fan of spy films, this one is not going to hurt you, but I can't imagine them wanting to do a sequel if this does well in the box office, or even wanting to see this movie again. Now, if I had to give this movie a rating, I'm going to give The Man from U.N.C.L.E, just to be nice, a B-. I did have fun watching it the first time around. However, I wouldn't buy this a second time. I might catch it if it was playing on late at night and there's nothing else to watch, but other than that, there's really no real reason to see this a second time. If you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to check me in my future movie reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.